just like seeing her for the first time.
They were surprised that he had summoned Magicinto, his hands, and hit the targets. They thought that this was the highest result in the history of the academy at this time. On the balcony with the professors, Tyrion rose from his seat and, loudly applauding, said that it was incredible. Next moment the students cheered, that they congratulated Ruin. Mikkel was burning with irritation at this moment. Was perplexed. How did this happen? Our protagonist at this moment enjoyed the ovation and thought that the universal recognition that he had not received even once in these 6 years was spreading warmly in his chest. He always wanted to feel it sometime later. At the Council of Professors, Illick, raising his hand up, asked irritably, did he hit the using magic on his hands? Do they really want to say that this technique has something to do with magic? He had never heard of such a thing. Haihao looked at him and told him to listen. Isn't the hallmark of magic its limitless possibilities? If everything goes as expected, then it's not magic anymore, but mathematics. Illick wanted to object, but the head of the academy closed his eyes and calmly said that today he saw a flawless magical miracle created by a student. However, he sees that the other professors have a different point of view. Illick thought that ruined everything at this time in the corridor of the academy. Jason happily threw his arm over his comrade's shoulder and shouted that the Archmage was in the building. MC told him to stop, and the next moment he was surrounded by hypocritical students, each of whom tried to attract the attention of the protagonist. Ruin broke out of their circle and, walking further, thought that until yesterday he was an outcast. Turning to his friend, he said Thoth would move forward, and thought that everything changed literally overnight, so it was still difficult to get used Thoth attention. In fact, it would be better to remain alone. Of course, he is a thorn in the sight of some people. A few moments later, he opened the door to the room and saw Mel standing there looking out the window and said, there he is. The MC, confused, asked what he was doing in a strange room. He turned around and said that it seemed like he was getting arrogant after gaining some points with something that couldn't even be called magic. His impudence pissed him off, so he decided to warn him not to show off. Ruin asked if it wasn't because of the confusion of losing to someone he had looked down on 4 years. Mikkel went crazy at this and grabbed his shirt, shouting, what did he say, son of a bad woman? Our protagonist calmly removed his hand from his clothes and squeezed it. In his own, Narcissus wondered where he got so much strength from. Ruin then approached him and said that it was important for him to graduate. If he wanted to crush him so badly, he should do it fairly in a one-on-one fight, as he had already threatened. Mikkel pulled Hishand away and asked if he really thought he was worthy of competing with him, the man who had only failed for years. Hess said that they should just wait and see. Then inflated ego walked to the exit and turned around and told him not to even think about failing before this stage. As he walked further down the corridor, he thought that he would definitely fail at Tate's stage before even reaching one-on-one combat. Then he looked at his trembling hand and thought, is he really a mage? After a while, the student looked at Kingram and said that he had seen this statue several times before boutique time. He could not help but be amazed. The second stage of the practical exam, measuring magical power, the treasure of the academy, a rare artifact of which there are only a few in the entire continent. The ancient ogre King Ram. Years ago, Archmage Freud turned the ogre King Ram into an artifact. While was alive, King Ram, locked in the artifact, absorbs the manner of mages Andis, a magical punching bag. The second stage requires students to direct magic at the statue and get a high result. Ruin, addressing the bro character, said that this means that you just need to target the statue and use the spell you are most confident in. Jason confirmed this and said that this ogre is famous for judging very harshly. Getting a result above from him is already considered some commendable. The next moment, the student splashed a powerful stream of energy directly at the statue. King Ariam told him to get out of sight, a one-point mage. Should he quit magic right now? The protagonist, watching this, said that he thought he did well as expected. Everything is not that simple. Then the bully statue called the next student. The student looked at her classmate, laughed, and asked, is it her turn now? Raising her hand up, she told him to watch carefully and then released an ice ball forward. King Rem said that he would definitely remember her. It was really impressive. asked in surprise. Really, he confirmed it, and added that he was impressed by how hopeless she was. 2 points. She opened her mouth. In surprise, tears welled up in her eyes, and said that this couldn't be, this was her. Ecstatic King Rem continued to bully the students, handing out paltry points. Jason was indignant at his assessment, shouting that this was pure percent mana. The examiner told him not to make a scene and go back to his seat. The teacher then said that Mel was next, hadn't hesitate to release the energy forward, directing it at the statue, and Kingra said that he was disappointed. Ed, wasn't he George's son, by any chance? The student confirmed this, and added that he was his proud third son. Mel King lauded the word proud, and said that his father was a fool, begging for more points, and he has even less talent. Mel points, he shouted indignantly. What kind of nonsense is he talking about? The examiner told him to calm down, then announced that Ruin would be the next to begin the test. He agreed and stood in front of the statue, getting nervous, but the next moment he pulled himself together, concentrating fire in his hands, said that he was pleased to meet him. His name was Ruin. King Rem said that he saw him for the first time, however it did not matter, and he could begin. Illich, who was watching the protagonist, exclaimed in surprise, was this explosive burning mana? The students were amazed. They were sure that this was fourth-class magic. King Ri was surprised by Ruin's stance and the next moment the protagonist pushed off the ground and shouted that he was advancing. He turned over in the air and, concentrating the energy in his leg, released it straight at the statue. The student said that it was impossible. He moved the magic from his fist to his leg and detonated it in an instant. A spell of such power can be attributed to the 5th class, then Ruin is at least a 5th class. Mage MC at this moment landed on the ground and, breathing heavily, thought that his spell worked as it should. But Cram's reaction was somehow strange. The next moment the org asked who he was, he said that he had already introduced himself, ignoring his answer. He asked, "Is he Dro?" The protagonist froze in place at this name, and King Rem said that he was waiting for him. Students watching what was happening did not understand what was happening. Did he confuse him with someone else? Our protagonist thought that he had read all the books available for the past months, but heckled and find a single mention of Dra. But King Ram had some information. He then asked if he knew Dra. The ogre confirmed it, and then asked if he could tell him more about him. King Ri said that it was interesting. Who would have thought that he would meet his incarnation here at the Academy? MC didn't understand what incarnation meant. King Ram then asked what his name was. The protagonist repeated his name, and the ogre said that he would remember it. Suddenly the examiner asked him to state Ruin's score before he left. He said that there were too many extra ears. He would tell him later. The evaluation was over. His magic was not something he could evaluate. The examiner was confused and asked what he was talking about. According to the rules, Kingra must evaluate the students, no matter what. This contract must be kept for years from the day of Archmage Freud's death. The ogre shouted, "Enough!" He, Deresto, mentioned the rules in his presence. He has been evaluating children who don't even look like mages for years. That damnignant can go to hell, but a contract is a contract. So he must stay the score 0, or points. How much does he want to get young? Destroyer, the protagonist, smiled and said that he chooses points. After a while the students were talking among themselves again. They were surprised by the score of points. They did not understand who could get such a score, and one of the students said that such a score was given to their loser of the century. Ruin at this time Heil told our protagonist that he was in the middle of things again. He asked what he was doing here. The professor folded his arms and said that the news of him getting points from Kingram had already reached the head of the academy. After learning about it, he said that it was an unprecedented case and he deserved a reward. He then held out a scroll and told him to take this first. Ruin unfolded the piece of paper and asked what the artifact room was. The professor then turned around and told him to follow him. After a while, they went down the stairs, and the protagonist that he didn't know such a place existed. Heil said that this was the only place in the academy where entry was prohibited. The protagonist didn't understand then. Why was he brought her? Professor said that they were standing at the entrance to the artifact room. He was only allowed to go this far. Protagonist asked if this meant that he had to go in alone. The professor confirmed this and said that he would wait outside. He then opened the doors of the room and thought that he didn't know what was going on, but since this was his route, he should take a look walking forward and looking around. He thought that there were only items that he hadn't heard of. Most likely this was the magical warehouse of Archmage. Freud suddenly. King Rem said that he looked lost. Mick jumped in surprise, and he said that he seemed to not realize his true value. Yu Ruin did not understand what Waith was doing here, and he is not a stone statue anymore. The ogre sitting on Akarast, he was surprised. Why is he not in the form of a statue? This is the only place where he is allowed to appear in his true form thanks to the ancient mana that fills this room. He can be in his body, and not in the form of an artifact. Ruin said that he understood, and then asked what he meant by his value. He said that exactly what he said does not understand his significance at all, despite the fact that he uses the same artifact as the player. The protagonist was surprised that he knows about the player. The ogre said that this is a rare artifact, one of a kind. How did he get it, and what is his connection with Dra? He answered that he himself asks these questions. Who is this Dra King? Ri was silent for a while, and then said that this was a creature that wanted to become a god one day. He Kamido, the Sky Peak tribe to which he belonged. He was short and small, which made him look unsightly. However, his strength was so monstrous that no one in the tribe could resist it. Moreover, he became stronger day by day, so even several ogres could not defeat him. They respected him. He lived with them, and was a member of their tribe. He taught him, next chief of the tribe, language and magic. For almost years, the protagonist, perplexed, asked how he lived for so many years. The ogre smiled and said that he was not a humanus. True form was the black dragon. Dragonia, Ruin wondered, thinking that this meant that dragons actually existed. Then asked, is this true? He confirmed it, and then asked, didn't he know that magic came from dragons? The protagonist. He had heard of this, but thought it was just a legend. King Rem said that, however, Dra himself was not capable of fusing magic, so he created a way to fight like him by infusing magic into his arms and legs. Does he understand now? Ruin thought. He was sure he was treated the same way as him. He then said that he understood better now. Ogre said that Dre created an ability, that only he could use the ability to turn magic into power, which he demonstrated to him, and with this power, he became the strongest being in the world. However, he was not satisfied with this. An endless line increased his power, until he eventually destroyed everything around him, and himself. MC wondered, destroyed everything. Thoughts why he is called the destroyer of worlds. He can't even imagine how strong he was to destroy an entire world. The next moment, a system window appeared in front of him, telling him that he had obtained the fine traces of Dre achievement. As a reward, he received the title Ogre's Friend, the skill Ogres, Fury, and the Spirit. Embodiment of Thepor, of Strawn. The title Ogre's Friend is the effect of this title, which increases the probability that ogres will not show hostility towards him. The effect of this title allows him to communicate with ogres. He scratched his chin thoughtfully, and thought about what kind of sudden reward this was, but it was better than nothing. Ogres. Fury is an active skill, borrows the power of an enraged ogre and gives a temporary increase in strength. Strength increases by 4 minutes. The effect is greatly enhanced by the skilled body art. Cooldown is Minotest. And a sphere appeared in his hand. He thought Strone is the embodiment of Paris. That what suddenly appeared in his hand. King Rem leaned over slightly and said that apparently he received airword for a quest. Dra had a habit of chatting about such things. While staring into space, Ruin asked, in that case, he does not know what it is. He said he would take a look. He then leaned closer and said it was Strawn. He asked, I've knew anything about this item? King Rem said it was not an item, but an incarnation. It had always been by Draka's side, so there was no way he wouldn't recognize it given its current state. Dra must have sealed it in Thesperit's stone. When he died, it is the incarnation of power, although it is called a spirit. It is different from normal spirits. Strawn has a nasty personality, and asked Dra for Endelis power every day. However, if his was granted, he would also promise him limitless power. MC asked if he meant that an incarnation would be born from this stone. He confirmed it, and said that he should not worry, it would probably waken soon. The next moment, the sphere began to glow and crumble into several pieces, and then a small bear appeared in his hands. Our protagonist asked, in surprise, bear? Strone grabbed his muzzle and shouted indignantly, how dare he call him a bear? Ruin wondered how a bear could Talk Strawn furiously shouted at them to stop calling him that, puffing with anger. He said, not to confuse him with that animal.